Hey y'all, Mrs. E here. Today we are going to be exploring Phineas Wells' lab. I want to try to learn every little bit about this lab and see what he may or may not be really planning. Little spoiler warning though, if you haven't played the games and don't want to know anything, this episode is just an introduction to Phineas. Future episodes might be a little bit more revealing, however. Also, if you're really enjoying the video, please remember to like and subscribe. Any comments are super appreciated. Any feedback is super welcome. Also, below are linked my Twitch accounts, Twitter, and our Discord. Feel free to join in on the fun. So, first things first, this is the location of the lab. Super easy to find as he sends you the coordinates as soon as you repair your ship. Also, can we just appreciate how fast it is to fly there? I love it. Now we are going to explore the outside hangar where our ship, the Unreliable, is parked. I do really appreciate the size of this area, and it's exactly what I would expect a huge ship hangar to look like. Which is just a huge plus for the devs in this game. And then another kind of thing that I always laugh at is Phineas essentially made this area himself, or he made this lab, and I just look around and I'm like, holy cow, dude, how did you do this? I want some of these tools IRL, seriously. It's a little messy here and there, and there are few little things you can loot on the outside, but other than that, it's just a pretty much open area that you can run around in. Nothing too sinister or crazy around here. And after exploring and again marveling in just the genuine size of this lab, we are gonna make our way to the final area that Phineas resides in. Entering Phineas's lab and heading to the left, we can see he has a Raptidon in some sort of like suspension. It kind of looks like he's floating in water to me. And the Raptidon is also alive if the panels next to the chamber are to be believed. Wonder what he's doing with one of those. They're kind of like super mean and like buttholes in the game. Moving along, we see a note which reads, "Reminder, seals leak, never use this pod." Okay then. Moving along, we also see a carcass of a cysty pig, and it's super gross. But behind the cysty pig, there are some posters which we can grab for Nyoka's room. I'm kind of excited about these. I think that this is like the Outer Worlds version of collectibles in the game. Another note that we find reads, "Reminder to buy a ladder." The odd thing though with this is that I was wandering around and looking around, and I didn't actually see anything up top in this room and area to suggest anything higher. So maybe he wanted to add some extra rooms, or maybe he wanted to use some of the higher areas for like more space. I'm not quite sure here. Another little note that reads, "A reminder, obscure body in the SK system." Also not sure what that means. Has anybody found anything relating to this? Maybe it's possible DLC hint. And here is Bubbles, Phineas's pet cysty pig, because you know, everybody wants one. Also, we have our hibernation chamber.
Your odds of survival were a mere 28%.
Here are the notes that Phineas makes regarding getting us out of hibernation. Pretty little interesting read. I highly recommend you check them out whenever you get into his lab. Also, he has a funny little note about remembering to clean up the cysty pig mess. More on that later. We also get to see our hibernation helmet, have a little look-see, not really my style, but that tech skills +5 might come in a little handy later on, we're not sure. This computer has his experimentation notes and are him basically tracking what he used to wake us up. Again, highly recommend giving these a read in your playthroughs. Also, fun note: the second note is mentioned about cleaning up the cysty pig mess. So that's 2 notes now, guys. 2 notes. What is this over here? Another cysty pig carcass from Phineas experimenting, and a little reminder to remember the number 14. Further on, we have a few more cysty pig carcasses and yet another note to clean up the cysty pig mess. I'm really not sure how many reminders one man needs to clean up some mess, but for what it's worth, I didn't really notice a big mess aside from the carcasses everywhere, so he may have cleaned them up by now. The last computer is Phineas's personal communications terminal, mentioning that he only trusts us about 23.7%. He also doesn't seem to be too keen on us being around here.
Careful, that's my communications terminal.
I love this last little note that we find. Reminder to extinguish plasma cutter before returning to pocket. But I guess that kind of fits in with someone that needed 3 reminders to clean up a cysty pig mess. Now we are going to move on to Phineas Wells, the man himself. We're going to question him a little to get his exact words on things. Side note, on the table to the right, there should have been a shrink ray. I looted it earlier.
I hope
It's
you're
awesome.
not thinking of ingratiating yourself with the board. Chairman Rockwell and his cronies are not your friends. They might tempt you with promises of wealth, but don't be fooled. They're just using you for their own ends. What's on your mind?
There's some reason you're hiding behind bulletproof glass?
Oh, it's not you. I do experiments in that room. Some of them get quite scientific. The unexpected is to be treasured, but from a safe distance. Regardless, it's quite comfortable in here, you know. I have my beans, have my caffeinoids, plenty of toilet paper.
Got time to talk?
Absolutely. Let's talk.
Don't you leave your lab?
Oh, goodness, no. I wouldn't survive 10 seconds in the blackness of the aether. Well, no, I imagine I'd last at least 12 seconds before I'd lose consciousness and die of hypoxia.
That's not what I meant. Do you have some kind of a life outside of your work?
No, of course not. My life is my work. For that matter, everyone else's lives are also my work. An entire colony's worth of lives are at stake. It's up to me, up to us to set things right. To answer your question, I'd rather stay right here in my lab. There's too much work to be done. The Hope's colonists won't revive themselves, you know.
Workaholic. Check. Why are you so obsessed with reviving the Hope's colonists?
Because we've lost our way. The board has a stranglehold over this colony, and we've all been conditioned into total obedience. The Hope is full of specialists, scientists, engineers, talented individuals like you. People who haven't been corrupted by the board. Unfortunately, the Hope's colonists have been frozen for decades, well past your shelf life, so to speak. No offense.
Yeah, but you revived me, so you must have solved the problem.
Ah, you begin to perceive the truth. Yes, according to the board and their narrow-minded scientists, you should be a pile of organic sludge right now. 10 years. That's how long the average human can remain in hibernation. You were frozen for decades. In theory, you never should have survived the revival process. But the conventional theories are wrong. You're living proof that it can be done. There's yet hope for the Hope. Get it?
I'm glad to hear that. Everyone on the Hope is depending on us.
We'll do our very best to save them all. I'd best get back to work. I can feel my last dose of caffeinoid fading.
All right, and with that, we have interviewed Phineas and thoroughly explored his lab. Next episode, we will be talking to random strangers that we run into to get their opinions on his work. If you've enjoyed this, please make sure to like and subscribe, and comments and feedback are super valued below. Also, below are links for my Twitter, Twitch, and Discord. Come out and talk the Outer Worlds with us.